Hi, this is video documentation and also written documentation because of the closed caption writing that happens in videos in the Paper Reduction Act, so we have electronic rights to record documentation. So my command is this: love each other as I have loved you, John 15:12, and above all, love each other deeply, because love covers over a multitude of sins, signs, signatures, and debts. 1 Peter 4:8. But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. Matthew 6:33. And where did Christ, which means anointed one, say to seek? He said, the kingdom of heaven is within. But let justice roll on like a river, righteousness like a never-failing stream. Amos 5:24. May the Creator and Savior, the one they call God, which means generator, operator, destroyer of false realities, and government ordinance department. It is an acronym, and it is not the true name of the above all divinity, above all gods and goddesses name from the radiant spark that we all came from. So may the Creator and Savior who lives in us, our DNA and RNA, give you more and more grace, mercy, and peace as you grow in your knowledge of. See, Jesus was with a G because there was no letter J till 600 years ago, according to an etymology dictionary. And that means when Christ said, know ye not that your God's Jesus is the God's in us, Lord, land on record deed. 2 Peter 1:2. Hear, O Israel, and Israel means yes, I am real. The land on record deed, Lord, acronym, our God in the government ordinance department is one, for I, the King, and I are one and the same. So love yourself, self-recognition and self-respect and self-dignity. To myself I be true, TILA Law, Truth and Lending Act. With all your soul, the sole of your foot, Pedius Possessio doctrine. The black carbon copy that is made of the baby's feet at the hospice military foundling centers, which means we're labeled as an orphan. That the parents' patriarch doctrine, the acknowledgement of paternity that the father should have filled out at the hospital, knowing of the ramifications of that birth certificate, which is a death certificate. I revoke it and null and void it. So with all your soul and all your strength, and I take back my power. And that is in Deuteronomy 6:4-5. So in Daniel 7:26, it says, but the court will sit, and his power will be taken away and completely destroyed forever. Because the ships in trading assurance name, which is Satan, the adversary, that has been going on with these mental floods, lost at sea laws, is notwithstanding, and full disclosure must be had. So, I, on Her Majesty's service, am making my claims of the real meaning of it all. So this is for educational and spiritual purposes, and legal is not lawful by any definition. It means the breaking of the Creator and Savior's laws. And the Bible, which stands for banking instruments, banking law, and equity, and he said, my beloved begotten sons and daughters, our kings and queens, shall be redeemed in equity, which means fairness. It is the living word, the Logos. So I revoke all pre-birth contracts made under amnesia, because they took reincarnation out of the Bible and have been recycling, resourcing, and reincarnating people over and over. And I'm a Gnostic, which means gnosis. And the Nag Hammadi scriptures, which were found in 1945, reveal more truths that were not canon in the Bible, because they legalized Christianity in the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD. This is when all the bureaucrats and monarchies and popes and cardinals and dioceses and bishops and bureaucrats and politicians all gathered together and wanted to stay in power and take away the power of man, which in Genesis 1:26 says that we were equally created, both man and woman. I don't want to say male and female, because that is part of sage accounting, chattel farming with the big pharmacopoeia, pharmaceutical companies. Now, psychiatry is not a proven science. You must understand and self-reflect and work on yourself. No one is coming to save you. You have to save yourself. For Christ, means anointed one, is within. And coronation, corona, your crown, when you were born and you crowned and you came through your mother's vaginal canal, my mother's water broke. In the spirit, the blood poured out. Scriptures say any man or woman born of a woman, the womb of a man, because we're man and woman, masculine and feminine, subconscious and conscious mind, and our mother's seed and father's seed procreated us, shall be saved, the scripture says. And I was not born from in vitro fertilization. I was not artificially made. I had a biological mother and father. And their middle name, according to the Black's Law Dictionary, which I have studied, is your M. M means Michaelmas, Michael the Archangel who rebuked Satan, is your mercy in the middle. So, I've got some writings here about some cases that you guys can read and pause the video on. The Franklin Delano Roosevelt Bankruptcy Emergency Banking Act that happened in 1933. And John Fitzgerald Kennedy was our last president. And he was assassinated because he did not want to sign the Brady Bill, which was a crime bill. And he said it was a crime against humanity because people have not been educated about the truth. And the schools have been controlled by the elite, and the Rothschilds and Rockefellers and those who were part of the British Bankruptcy Act that happened March 3rd, 1933. And this birth name is a word, it's a business. An all caps name is not a name. And this has been going on since AD 98. And this is why Christ said, "You have made my temple a den of thieves and robbers," because of the buying, selling, and trading of our souls that have been going on in these courts of assumption and presumption. And I did a beneficiary designation letter. I have a case going on in Monticello, Kentucky, for a false arrest, which I was not Mirandized. But I have wrote a bunch of definitions of what's in the Black's Law Dictionary, because I do not have to register my property with the state. That is the gist of the matter, because they're trying to have Britain and Rome own my soul and my profits and my property with these illegitimate, bastardized, unconscionable contracts that were done on our bodies and souls from the time we were born, which labels us as surety for another and for debt. This is why Proverbs 11:15 says, "You shall not be surety for another, or you will smart for it." Now, I have been educating the American people so they can receive their American national rights. Do not want to be shanghaied here, which means to drug, intoxicate, or render insensible, and ship as a sailor, usually to secure advance money or a premium, procuring or inducing or attempting to do so by force or threats or by representations which the knows or believes to be untrue, knowingly aiding and abetting such things is an offense. See 18 U.S.C.A. Section 2194. Interstate and foreign commerce on the high seas or any navigable waters of the United States, knowingly detaining such vessel. So this is really against the law. My BOC in Saxon law book or writing, a deed or charter, land book, evidence of title, allodial titles, body, a person used of a natural body or an artificial one created by law as a corporation. The term embraces all members of the person, head, Franklin versus State, Walker versus State, the body, trunk, also the main part of an instrument. In deeds, it is spoken of as distinguished from the recitals and other introductory parts and signatures in affidavits from the title and jurat. Great bodily harm equivalent to maim, injury greater than battery. Shires versus Boges. Dead pledge, a mortgage, mortem vadium. Conspiracy. In criminal law, a combination or confederacy between two or more persons formed for the purpose of committing by their joint efforts to prejudice a third person, to prevent the course of justice, or to effect a legal purpose with a corrupt intent, hindering rights and remedies, damage to person or property. Martha Mills versus Mosley, 50 GN App 536 179 SC 159. That's in Black's Law 4, page 383. Consideration of benefices, the act or process of uniting two or more of them with one. Okay, so the definition for forgery and event and all of that is on here. This is my private intellectual property, so I claim my copyright copy claim over this, but it is being exposed to everyone for educational purposes and to help, and it is my cry for help to the American people. And there was a fidelity insurance put out on all of us when we were born, which has 500 compound interest, that all these insurance companies are stealing, and that they're taking, when you get a charge, the policy forcers and their insurance companies are trying to take it. I've got the sole of my foot on the back of this one, my possessio doctrine, right? So, if you look at the Medicare book, page 5, 6, and 7, it shows that all these insurance companies are committing fraud. And if you study all the definitions of insurance in the Black's Law Dictionary, it shows that they are committing fraud. Okay? So, my car is not a jitney, which is a motor vehicle carrying passengers for fare. I'm not a taxi driver or truck driver. My car is not for hire. Basic right of private property without arbitrary interference. Scaduto versus Town of Bloomfield. That was under 127 NJL 120 A2D 649 650. Double jeopardy. Now see, they have put my life at risk over and over. Common law and constitutional prohibition against double jeopardy refers not to the same offense connominate, but to the same crime, transaction, or omission. A second prosecution after first trial for the same offense. People ex rel. Rosea versus Warden of Queens County Jail. And see, they have charged me over and over for driving without a license, which means lasciviousness and lewdness. It's an adulterous contract. But that's really your real estate license that they're stealing with, your real property with that hologram. Licentiousness. The indulgence of the arbitrary will of the individual without regard to ethics or law or respect for the rights of others. In this it differs from liberty, for the latter term may properly be used only of the exercise of the will in its moral freedom with justice to all men and obedience to the laws. Welch's versus Durant. Liberty is restrained by natural or positive law and consists in doing whatever we please, not inconsistent with the rights of others, whereas licentiousness does not respect those rights. Also, lewdness or lasciviousness, Holton versus State, Purvis versus State. So a license is like a James Bond 007 license to kill if you read all the definitions in its ID entity theft fraud. So, how can they accuse anyone of committing a crime when no state can issue a license and put a charge on it? So in this case, I told the so-called judge, which I give no one judgeship over me, that if I cross that bar, I retain my rights to my dowry, because I'm not an illegitimate bastardized contractor with adulterous contracts. So, like I was saying, the acknowledgement of paternity, I claim that my father was my real father, and that the Pope is not my father. And, I seal all these with an asterisk too, which I have not done yet, which means positive law. I wrote over 100 pages for this case, to rebut all their assumptions and presumptions. And according to the Georgia Code 10, which is in every state, all laws are congruent in every state. Any contracts I sent to them in the mail, they were supposed to respond to within 10 days. Otherwise, they acquiesce. Silence is acquiescence, and they are supposed to adopt what I wrote in that contract as law and stand in good standing and in good faith. So, here's the definition of person. A man considered according to the rank he holds in society with all right to which the place he holds entitles him, and to do the duties which it imposes. People versus our company. The word in its natural and usual signification includes women as well as men. Term may include, and that's Commonwealth versus Woloski, may include artificial beings as corporations. That was People versus Commissioner of Taxes. Quasi-corporation, Sedgwick State and Constitution 1372 LR5. This is also in the Black's Law Fourth about this case, a foreign corporation. Under statutes forbidding the inking of property with due process of law and giving to all persons the equal protection of laws, Smith versus Ames, concerning clans arising from Indian depredations, U.S. versus Trans Company, relating to taxation and the revenue laws, People versus McLean, 2 attachments, Bray versus Wallingford, usurious contracts. And see, even one of the popes years ago said that usury is forbidden. But these Vatican assassins who have, I do not know if they do it because when we're born, mother signs as informant, which means informing of a death or a crime, so we're labeled dead and a criminal from the time we're born. And so is it that they think in their mind anyone who really belongs to heaven figures this out? Is that why they have not disclosed this? Do they rationalize their reasons for doing this? I do not think they have the right to judge anyone unless they've walked a mile in someone's shoes, like know what lethal injections they've been given, which I was given medicine against my will and shots against my will, which caused back and neck damage. And believe me, an incompetent would not be able to write and study all of this information, okay? And they're trying to say they want me to do a competency evaluation. Well, psychiatry is not even a proven science. You have to heal yourself and your inner child, any trauma and drama you've been through, any hell you've been through from narcissists and ephagus, which is the cruel emotional abuse, which I have went through with the state, and from family members. I went through domestic violence and as a child, and sexually abused as a child, and I ended up with men that were like that, who abused women like my mom and my aunts, who were beautiful women. And I repeated the same mistakes that they did, but I don't anymore because I have discretion and discernment and am wiser now. And everyone makes mistakes, and we must learn from our mistakes. Sasuke Trust. He who has a right to a beneficial interest in and out of an estate, the legal title to which is vested in another. 2 Wash Real Property 163. The person who possesses the equitable right to property and receives the rents, issues, and profits thereof, the legal estate of which is vested in a trustee. And see, the all caps surname is the trustee name. Our upper and lowercase letters first and middle is the beneficiary name. So if you had to study about agnomen, cognomen, praenomen, the surname, the last name, and all of that. So, Sasuke use. He who for whose use and benefit lands or tenements are held by another. See, the definition, and see, absolute means complete, perfect, final, without any condition or encumbrance, as an absolute bond, simplex obligatio, in distinction from a conditional bond, unconditional, complete, and perfect in itself, without relation to or dependence on other things or persons. Instruction as to an absolute gift. Ketch versus Smith. President and directors of Manhattan Company. See, I wrote about that. Felony is a common law, an offense occasionally total forfeiture of either land or goods to which capital or other punishment might be superadded according to degree of guilt. Bell versus Commonwealth. And they're trying to label us as criminals because all crimes are commercial. 27 CFR 72-11. So this case that I am fighting, I'm hoping and praying, it is my prayer that I will finally have redemption, remedy, recoupment, settlement. Those definitions show that we have the right to go in camera, a private meeting. I don't want to speak in their courts. I get nervous with these guns for hire surrounding me that have acted intimidating to me in the past, and I have been unlawfully jailed, imprisoned, and hospitalized and drugged against my will. And as I was saying, that it's, if they're receiving federal funding, if they're receiving money out of my estate to pay for a psychiatrist, I have the right to choose my own, as well as I have a right to any charge of over $20, a grand jury with 25 peers of my choosing, because their jury is not my jury. And all these people can be bribed and paid off. They have illegal contracts and illegal interests, and have been committing fraud and forgery. All these judges and everyone in this system, like it's lawyers, and even in the 13th Amendment, it says that no nobility or esquire can be serving in the government. So how is that Donald John Trump is the King of Scotland and claims to be the president, when I am the precedent in my own Oval Office, my ovaries that gave birth to my beloved, begotten, unconditionally loved blood heirs and offspring that were born. And I do not want to stay in the travail of birth. Revelations 12, the woman in travail. And I did not do these in alphabetical order, but the definition of a doctor in the Black's Law Dictionary means a debtor who's trying to be the creditor. So a BS 158 to rescind the acknowledgement of paternity. And I put some documents on script. People have created Amazon cards and PayPal cards and have been stealing. And I'm not going to tolerate poverty, lack, and scarcity anymore. I do not give anyone my power. I have to be concerned about my sons and daughter and grandsons and granddaughter for our international settlement with these international monetary funds using my exclusion and exemption. I did receive a tax exempt number from the IRS since 2022, and I'm not going to allow them to do a 1099 original discount and indemnify me when I've yet to see a valid claim. They can never have a valid claim, which a valid claim has 3 witnesses, wet signatures, and a raised seal from a judge with an affidavit of truth with a DA complaint. And I did valid proof of life claims with my sons and my daughter. It has the blood, it has our thumbprints. It has our name that it copyrighted with a PS 3806 at the post office with 4.12 million Fox Gold 22 karat gold stamps with $360 worth of gold and silver. That's sovereignty, as it shows in this dictionary with the definitions, that I bought a British coin, $260, and 3 silver coins. So under the Digital Millennium Copyright Act of 1998, under Section 512, any person who knowingly, materially misrepresents that material or activity is infringing and may be subject to liability. Misuse of the DMCA form may result in termination of their accounts and possible legal action and imprisonment. So I'll set my court if they make me publicly speak in their Nisi Prius tax courts. And like I said, according to the Georgia Code 10, any paperwork they received, they were supposed to respond within 10 days, otherwise they acquiesced, and it stands as law. And they're trying to suppress evidence and say that they did not read the paperwork and they sent it back, and I've yet to receive it, and it was sent on May 4th, 2026. So I want to discharge this matter as the holder in due course, as a non-affiliate third-party intervener, making a special appearance as a sole authorized present sui generis with sui juris propria persona, sole authorized representative over the all caps name estate, which the birth certificate is a death certificate. Speaking on my own behalf for the defendant, these de factos cannot speak for a dead person. I am a living being and beneficiary of the state. I accept for value and return for value the charging instruments in this matter, make my exemptions and tax avoidance rights as principal as agent over the principal name with unincorporated rights to discharge all obligations and charges connected with this case. I do not dispute any of the facts contained because I come in on and for the record to shed light on and for the facts as a friend of the court. The charging non-negotiable instruments and self-recognition of my irrevocable trust and will. Please use my exemption, the TEIN I received in October 2022 for offset to balance the books and adjustment of the public charges against me, the defendant, and release the order of the court immediately with my private ordering. And you do not have the beneficed right to administrate my estate without me, and any charge of over $20 is my right to a grand jury, 25 peers of my choosing, will verse in trust law, tax law, commercial law, and contract law, natural, universal law, ecclesiastical law. Canon Law 7 says that any judge who tries to rule from the bench, which means bank, is to recuse himself. And so no one has title or judgeship over me to intimidate me or diminish me. They have no delegation of authority papers or power of attorney over me. I grant no one any of those things over me. I am here to assert and affirm on the Bible, the scriptures, the living word, that I am telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And facts, and I stand over the water. My mother's water broke and the blood and spirit poured out, and I was born, not birthed. So stop your statutory rape. Your municipalities and subdivisions do not pertain to me, nor your pooling and servicing agreement. Who is the source of credit? Me. I come from the true source. And so Luke 11:48-52 says, "Woe to you, lawyers, for you took the keys of knowledge and hindered them from entering in, and you would not lift a finger to help with this burden." I fired the lawyer, and I told him if he's willing to work with me for my exemption and for my write-offs, set-offs, and to balance the books and for my payments in lawful consideration, then I will speak with him. And this is 33rd degree Mason, Satyr squares, pig pen, I claim a plain language doctrine, plain speak, because no one can be tried in a foreign language and in a foreign court, which their Latin and definitions most people do not understand. And, David Wynn Miller, which I did the proof of life claim with his plenipotentiary court, I didn't have to study the parse syntax grammar, which is no justice and no facts nor truth shall be tried in court. I'm just claiming a one-word correct language performance. So the straw major executed itself, executor of his father's will. I'm the executress. The capstone dad's name that they did a character assassination on my father's name. I'm not going to put up with their kiss of death with these military scripts